If you would please open your Bibles with me to Luke 19:10. He entered Jericho and was passing through, and there was a man named Zaccheus. He was a chief tax collector and rich. And he sought to see who Jesus was, but could not on the account of the crowd, because he was small of stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Jesus came to that place, he looked up and said to him, "Zaccheus, make haste and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, "He has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner." And Zaccheus stood and said to the Lord, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded any one of them, I restore it fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." Now, I need you to play along with me here. Does anyone know what this is? Right, a magic 8-ball, okay? If you don't know what it is, or maybe not familiar with it, it's actually a handheld fortune teller. And as a kid, I loved playing with this toy, okay? And how it works is you ask it a yes or no question, and you shake it, and it gives you an answer. And it's always right. That's what's so great about it. Now, I want you guys to play along with me. Someone throw me out a question, a yes or no question. Is it going to rain? So we shake the magic 8-ball. That's a great question, Joan. Is it going to rain today? And it answers, yes, definitely. Okay, give me another one. Someone, give me another one. What's that?
Will the Texans win their next game?
Oh. Wait, let me shake that one again. Ask again later. Okay? Okay, one last question. One last question from this side of the crowd. Emily. Are you going to have a good time in kindergarten? Most definitely. Yes. Okay, those are awesome questions. Now, when I was a kid, I would shake the ball when I didn't get the response I wanted. I would often ask questions like, "Are we going to win our soccer game?" And I would shake it, and if I didn't get that answer, I'd shake the answer I wanted, I would shake it again. And sometimes I would even go as far as doing best 2 out of 3. Now, I know it's strange. I'm bringing a magic 8-ball and a toy to be a big part of a sermon, but I wanted y'all to see the silliness and the whimsy that is involved in children's ministry in my life. And who doesn't like to play with a magic 8-ball, right? Because they're fun. Now, let's get back to the story of Zaccheus. So here we have Zaccheus sitting in the sycamore tree. And what I find fascinating about the sycamore tree is that the branches tend to be warped and twisted, kind of like we think of as tax collectors. So I thought that was really interesting that the writer used the sycamore tree for Zaccheus to go up into. Now, Zaccheus is up in this tree, and Jesus calls him down. But he doesn't just say, "Hey, you, come down." He calls him by name. He actually says Zaccheus. Now, I can't help but wonder the look on both of their faces when he called him down. I'm betting that Zaccheus had a puzzled look on his face, because there's no way Jesus was actually calling him by name. Maybe he looked down below him, underneath him, to see if someone else was standing under the tree, because that's kind of a big deal that Zaccheus is being called by name. And he didn't consult his magic 8-ball to see if he should come down. He didn't hesitate. He just came down. Now, after disdain and grumble from the crowd, Zaccheus goes with Jesus, Jesus goes with Zaccheus to his house, and we know that Zaccheus proclaims that he's going to give his half of his possessions and repay those that he was shady with 4 times over. So it seems to me that Zaccheus his heart was really changed by Jesus. Now, what we don't know is what happened afterwards. The story just stops and it moves on to the next thing. And I've thought about this. What happened after Jesus left? You could conjure up all these kinds of stories in your head, you know. Did he remember that feeling when he got called down from the tree by name? Was there an ebb and flow of emotions and actions as time passed and just life continued to go forward? I don't know. But I'd really like to believe that Zaccheus' ways were changed for good. I'd like to believe that he continued to help the poor, and maybe he built shelter for people and fed children. But even if his faith might have strayed, or he had doubts, or that good he felt in his heart disappeared, I know one thing. Zaccheus listened to the call of Jesus, and he came down from the tree. He came down from the tree. Was his life easy after that? Because just because you answer the call doesn't mean it made life easy. I'm sure he had fears and questions and doubts. He probably even had people wondering his intentions because they knew how he was before. It's probably a really tough situation for Zaccheus, in my opinion. Now, sometimes we get caught up in him being a wee little man and climbing up a sycamore tree, but we often forget one of the main points of the story, and it's that Jesus called him and he came down. And as I read this story over and over, I couldn't help but wonder, how often do we listen? How often do I listen? Or how often do you listen? Or how often do we listen? And if we aren't listening, why? In reality, following Jesus is really, really hard and even uncomfortable at times. In fact, I'd like to believe, like the famed scholar and preacher Marty Vershell said, if following Jesus is easy for you, then you are not doing it right. A few years ago, my family and I had been visiting churches off and on, and I'd like to say that, I think, because really we just were going when it was convenient, because I really needed those Sundays to recuperate from teaching. But one evening in December, I took my daughter to a birthday party, and we got an invitation to go to church. And of course, we didn't say no, and we couldn't say no, because I thought God's going to be mad at me if I don't accept the invitation to church. So we went, and it started off we went the next morning, and it started off horribly, horribly wrong. The girls were not cooperating, they were bickering. I didn't have enough mousse for my hair. I hadn't started the dryer the night before, so my husband's clothes were wet. It just started off horribly wrong. And I said to myself, if this is how it's going to be every Sunday, I'm not doing it. I'm out. This is not even worth it. But we pulled ourselves together, and we went, and I can't tell you how surprised I was. Now, that fall season, I was real vocal about some things, and it was people putting up Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving. Couldn't stand it. It drove me crazy. I was vocal about it. I'm not going there because they have Christmas stuff up already. Hobby Lobby stuff in July they have up. I was furious about it. So we go to church that Sunday, and we sit with the friends that invited us, and the worship started, and I was not sure how I felt. It was a little awkward for me. So the preacher got up and he started his message, and then it was like this wall he hit, and all of a sudden he starts this rant about being irritated about stores putting up Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving. I thought to myself, there's no way that this man is speaking the words that I have thought and said over the last few weeks, because he's saying everything that I have felt. And I didn't feel guilty about it anymore, because I was feeling guilty that I wasn't wanting to celebrate Jesus' birthday. But he made me realize that it was okay to feel that way, because I wanted to celebrate the Thanksgiving celebration and the things that we should be thankful for. Now, we enjoyed our time at this church. My family and I got very, very involved. We didn't miss a single other Sunday, except for when we were out of town. We got involved in all areas of ministry, like VBS, of course. and youth Sunday school, and my husband fell in love with Army, and started a children's choir, and even worked with that crazy ranting pastor on a few sermon projects, and it was really neat. Now, one day last fall, I was approached about a position as director of children's ministry at some church in Missouri City, and it was strange because I had just started a new elementary teaching job, and I was really excited about being at that school because I'd been wanting to get there, and I wasn't looking for anything new because I was comfortable and I was good at what I was doing, and I knew people, and I had the summers off, and I was able to hang out with my girls whenever I wanted to. And I questioned, was I really contemplating letting all of that go? Was I going to take a major pay cut? Was going to walk into a situation that I was painfully nervous about and then preach later on, which I didn't even know I was going to do? Something I hadn't done before, a place where I didn't know anyone. I had so many questions. Was I godly enough? Was I the right person? What do I know about children's ministry anyways? What if I fail miserably? What if I fail miserably? It was a really scary thing. It was a really scary thing, but I knew. After all those months of interviews and prayer and discussion and some really heated conversations, I obviously took that job. And the irony behind it all is that I'm now working with that ranting pastor that I first told you about. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Now, has it been easy? No. Has it been comfortable at every corner? No way. Have I doubted my ability? Absolutely. And am I worried about failing? Yes, I am, because he could give me the axe after this sermon is over. I don't know. But there's not a day goes by that I'm not tempted to grab my trusty 8-ball and give it a shake or two. But really, I know I don't need to, because taking that job at the church in Missouri City was one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's the most peace I felt at work in a very long time. And I know with every ounce of my heart that this is where I'm supposed to be. And the best part is that I'm getting to teach kids about Jesus. Now, I'm not telling you my story to get some noble pat on the back and a high five, like, good job, Leah. It's great what you're doing. It's to remind you and to even remind myself that saying yes to Jesus is hard, and it can hurt, and it can be painful, and it can be risky and downright uncomfortable. When we're questioning something, we aren't gonna grab the magic 8-ball to see how we should answer and respond, and then keep shaking it until we get that answer that's easy and comfortable. We have to listen. We have to listen to our heart and our mind and our soul and our gut. And maybe even listen to those that are around you. Because those are the ways that God speaks to us. Maybe there's something around this church that you want to do but are feeling uncomfortable about it. And maybe it's risky. Maybe you want to be involved with the children and youth, but you don't think that you can keep up. Or maybe you want to go to Army, but you don't want to take off a week of work to do so. Maybe you want to lead a Bible study, but you don't think you're good enough. Maybe you want to use your talents to paint a giant mural down the hallway. And if you'd like to, I'm totally game for that. He doesn't know I have an idea, so if you want to do that, let me know. I don't know what your talents are, and I don't know what your passion might be, but listen to that call from Jesus. But don't just listen, you have to answer. Because he is calling you, and he's calling you by name. And he wants all of us to join him. Amen.